All right. Seems like there's quite a few people here already, so I'll just get started anyways. So, hello, you guys, everyone. My name is Ethan, and I will be the instructor for CS307, which is the let's see, algorithms with Java or introduction to Java and algorithms, whatever you want to call it. Um, Before we get started, I'd like to share this link. This will be where all the course material resides. This includes assignments, course lectures, and also potential solutions to the homework. Um, that being said, I will share my screen, so you don't really have to open the link. All right. Let's see. Okay, sure. Cool. Okay. So, before anything actual content, I suppose I'd like to start off with a bit of introduction to what the course is. I believe I hope at least everybody have read through the description. Um, Sorry. Yeah. This 8 session course will be divided into mainly two parts. The first part is the introduction to Java. I will be going over the basic syntax, the data structures, and all the fundamental knowledge you need in order to code in Python. Sorry, not Python, Java. Sorry, I taught Python last year. Um, and then the second part would be algorithms. This would include uh, theoretical components and the actual coding bits. So that's where uh, I guess the algorithm part of this course comes in. Um, all right, I hope everyone knows the course schedule. Well, today I kind of forgot, but I will be posting the link and as well as announcements about 10, 20 minutes ahead of each class, just to make sure that everybody are aware of the upcoming class. Um, all changes to the schedule will be posted ahead of time as well. Okay, now moving on to the class format. I hope this will be a fun learning experience. That you know, I am still a high schooler, so it's not like I'm some sort of scary adult who is trying to hunt you down. Uh, don't worry, I don't bite, especially not through the screen. So I hope this is engaging and fun as well. Camera wise, well, I believe this has been like brought up many times during remote classes. I don't really care if you have cameras on or off. I'll have it on just so you can see me, but you guys can keep it off if you wish to. All right. Yeah. And parents, if any parents are like have any background knowledge in computer science, you're more than welcome to help. Sorry, I skipped breaks. I'll come back to it. But continue. Parents, if you have any experience and would like to help your kids, that's totally fine. But please don't do everything for them, especially the assignments or homework that I will assign at the end of each class. You can help them out, but please keep it to a minimum amount because the learnings are for the students, I suppose. All right, going back to breaks, there will be one break that's about 10 minutes ish, 10 to 15, 10 minutes ish between like in the middle of this 1 hour, 30-minute session. Uh, it would, I don't have a set time for it, but it would usually be uh, right after some uh, hard content, I suppose. Okay. If anyone have any questions, of course, you could either contact me through WeChat. I should have said that. Or if you have any immediate questions, you can feel free to ask through chat, private chat, or just raise your hand and speak out loud. At the end of each class, I will be having a sorry. At the end of each class, I will have a Q&A session where I'll stay for about 10, 15 minutes if see if anyone have questions. I don't have anything after this, so I could stay longer if need to be. Of course, lastly, you can also reach me through my email, and it's linked over here. And then that is the, I guess, class format. If anyone have questions, feel free to ask right now. If not, I'll move on. Cool. Seeing that there is no questions, I will get into the actual course, I suppose. So over here, oh, just a bit more logistics. Over here is the course outline. Each week, I'll be adding more sessions as we move on. I will post them ahead of time, and yeah. And then also one more thing about homework. Well, these are links that you could click into. And regarding homework, they will be posted. Well, the homework will be posted ahead of the time. I'm still trying to figure out the rest of the course curriculum, but seems like I just reconnected. Okay. Anyways, um, yes. Uh, Going back to what I was saying, homework wise, they'll be usually posted ahead of time. If you want to work on them ahead of time, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. And then regarding the lectures, they will also be posted ahead of time. However, also there will be solutions posted to the I hope no. Okay. There will be solutions posted ahead of time, but well, solutions will be posted eventually, but they will not be until the beginning of next session. So the solution to homework number one, finding object, will not be posted until Sunday. Well, for me, and Monday for you guys, I think. And also there's download solutions, but also that will not be available for now. Okay. And then I guess we'll get in. Ooh, I don't like this. Seems like the links are. Just one moment. Didn't do a good job on linking the pages. Oh, because it's missing this one in front. I'll get this fixed during break. Um, let's see. Sorry, just a quick update to the GitHub page. I made some edits like half an hour ago, and apparently that's what it did. That's what does it. Anyways, this will do for now. Okay, cool. Link fixed, I guess. All right. So for each lecture, the layout is as follows. These are the navigations. Assignments will always be first, and then followed by the lectures. You would start with the table of contents, and then the link goes to each and every part of the page. So I'd like to start off with a bit about why even learning Java in the first place. There's so many languages: C, Python, Java, JavaScript, and Python, or the other languages. So there's a few reasons. I'm not going to go through all of them, just the first few. So first, it's very widely used. It is used, a few applications include web development, mobile app development, enterprise softwares, scientific computing, and etc. So websites, there's a really, there's a very well used framework called Spring, which is built upon Java. And then all the Android apps are built basically with Java. Well, also Kotlin now, but Java are still the main force, I suppose. There are a lot of resources because of how Java is a very old language. It has been around for decades. I don't know the actual date, but there are plenty of libraries, frameworks, and tools for learning and building Java applications, so you don't have to reinvent the wheels every time. Moving on, platform independency. Java runs on something called Java Virtual Machine, or JVM. As long as you, so they are independent of whatever the platform is. You can write the code once, and it would run on any platform, basically. Linux, Java, Linux, Android, Mac OS, Windows, you name it. I mentioned the Android application. We'll get into OOP later, but it's object-oriented programming, and Java enforces it very strictly, and that's a good thing for if you want to switch to other languages, and they will be of basically the same format. And Java is also reliable and has good scalability. You could build big applications or small ones. It's a very versatile language, so you get a lot from just learning that. Well, this image doesn't work, whatever. It's an image of Minecraft. I was meant to show that as one example of what is built with Java, which I believe most people know what Minecraft is. So I'm not going to emphasize it and exaggerate it, speak more about it. But yeah, Minecraft is built on Java, and the backend of it is running, and that's what the backend. Sorry, and that's what the backend runs on. All right. So let's get into, or before actual Java syntax, which I'll get into later, let's start by looking at what a computer is, or what the fundamentals of computers are. So, and first is the computer logic. So there is a few components that we need to be aware of, I guess, when coding. Although this is not an electrical engineering or computer engineering class, it's a computer science class. So I would not be focusing on too much of these hardware components. But you have to be aware that there are three main parts that we have to know. The first is the memory, so which is where the data are stored or some of the information of the program is running. And then the central processing unit, or the CPU, that's where the instructions are being ran. And lastly is the input and output device, which is the IO devices. That includes keyboards, mouse, and microphone, whatever you call it. So for Java, at least, well, for this course, at least, the only really IO device that we will be interacting with is the keyboard. So you may have so basically the program can ask you to input something into the command line, and you'll be doing that through, I guess, like a keyboard. And then, okay, so computing, just a bit about how computers work. And there are CPU instructions or machine code or assembly. These are not exactly the same thing, but you could treat it as similar. So this code is what you would see as in Java. It's written in Java syntax, and this is what you would see in assembly. So that's more of a low-level coding language that is harder to understand compared to over here, Java, Python, C++, C#, etc. However, it is easier to understand. It is harder to understand, but every coding language has to be translated into machine code in order for the computer to understand and run it. All right, so here is how Java is compiled. So first of all, there are two different kind of languages: interpreted language and compiled language. Interpreted language includes Python and some other languages. Python is the most important one, I suppose. And Java is just like C and other languages that are compiled. So you have to basically translate it first in order for it to run. Java source code is compiled into something called a bytecode. And here is the basic process of getting your Python code to run. However, most of this is handled in the backend. So you really just have to click a run button, and usually it does everything. Okay. So Java. So first you have. Fun. Yes. You first start with something called Java source code, which are files ending with .java. This is something that we would be reading, and this is something that we could read, and then what we'll be writing in. And then we will use a Java compiler through a command line or some sort of other methods to compile this into bytecode, which is .class files. So, and bytecodes are not really readable by humans. And they are instructions for the Java virtual machine, which is over here, JVM. I won't get into too much details. You just have to know that .java and .class are the two kinds of files that we would potentially see in while we're coding. Of course, we will only be coding in .java, but .class would appear once you click the wrong button. All right, let's get into our first program. But before doing that, we would need to set up our, I guess, IDE. Right now, nowadays it's very there's not much for at least for this class, there's not much harm in using online IDEs. Therefore, for the simplicity's sake, we'll be using Replit. If anyone wishes to set up their local IDEs, like on their machine instead of on a browser, feel free to do so after class. Or if you don't know how to, you can also contact me through the aforementioned methods. However, let's set up. I'll okay. Uh, I did not post this ahead of time, which I should have. But however, if you would like to, please go to replit.com. I will send this in chat as well. And please create an account, sign up for it, and then you'll be on this screen very shortly. If you're done, you can have a thumbs up, and I'll wait about 10 minutes before we proceed. And if anyone wishes to, you may can also treat it as a break. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. All right. Can I get a show of hands of how many people have Replit account created, or they have a personal favorite of IDE already installed? Cool. Okay. So, I guess I'll wait maybe 3 more minutes and then we'll proceed. For those who don't have it set up by the end of that session, end of that few minutes, no worries. I'll be posting out uh, I'll be posting out the instructions of everything that like, we will continue, and I'll post it on both the website as well as the WeChat group. So if anyone are feeling behind, I will have you covered like after class, or you could stay and ask me. That also works. And it's about time. Um, all right. So upon logging in, you should be on this page. Let's see. Here we go. This page. You might not have the recent replets or recent repos, but that's okay. Um, so I guess we would start by creating a rep. We would start by clicking create repo on top left or in the middle, and then not Python. And you would look up Java, click that. You should see something like this. Give it a name that you prefer. Um, that, and then you'll be clicking create repo. Upon entering, you should see something like this. Cool. And if you could just go ahead and delete main.java. You won't be needing that anytime soon. Um, okay. That should be simple enough. I'll give another minute and we'll move on. All right. Should be easy. And move on. All right. So now you have that. We will start our first program. Uh, so few things first. It's okay. So here is the program code. Uh, yeah. If the computer, if it ever says CPU and yeah, well, I just happen to have something running in the background. I think it should be fine. If not, I'll switch to a local IDE. If if it does get too very like if it does get very laggy, which I don't think it will. Just at least not for the first few classes. All right. So after deleting what we're gonna write, we can start our own file. I'm gonna call it hello world.java. And after that, you would see something like this. Oh, I'm gonna redo the sharing. New share. Okay. Cool. Just so everybody could see both, I guess. Let me know if I need to zoom in or anything. The screen, some people do. Okay. And then if you could, type it in. If you don't wish to, you could copy it in, I guess. Um, guess a little small. Right. I guess it's just a little tradition for I guess for coding. The first program you write is always hello world. Uh, and you just click the run button on top or press Control Enter on your keyboard, and it should run just like that. You see hello world outputted. So with that, I'd like to go into a bit about the program structures. Tells you just a bit more. All right. So here, this is the above hello world program that we just ran, hopefully. Um, and then this is the basic program structure. You have class, and then you're supposed to make a file. Sorry. Over here, create a file called click new file, and then hello world. Well, Java. And then after that, you could just click run. I will be, I guess I'll be sharing this as well. Will be all right. This will also be up in the uh up on the website later. It will be on the front page, just so if anyone wishes to have a complete copy of all the code that we'll be going through. All right. So that being said, moving back to program structures, you have class and then the class name. In this case, it's called hello world. That'll be the class name. And then but you have to pay attention that the class name must be the same as the file name. Like hello world is over here, hello world must be over here as well. And then you have the main function or main method. We'll get into that later, probably next next class. Yeah. If we get to it, maybe this class, I don't know. We'll see. Then you have the output to the console. This is this line of command. It's system.out.println. It just basically just says print this whatever instead of this to the print whatever instead on this line into the console. As you see over here, we have hello world and the output is hello world. All right, simple enough, right? And then okay, now let's get into a bit more of the details, I suppose. So types or data types. Every programming language has mostly the same data types, and Java is not is no different, I suppose. So Java is a statically typed language. That means variables must be declared before they can be used. Therefore, you can, for example, I don't like you have to declare. We'll get into this later, but you have to declare a variable in order to assign a value to it. You can't do it the other way around, or else it's gonna throw you an error like that. Anyways, there are well 8 total primitive data types, which means that they're just built into Java. Um, there's a few more other stuff. Well, there's a few more other types that we will cover, but just not now. You don't have to know all of these. There's only really 3, maybe 4 max data methods that are data types that are kind of important. That being int, double, and boolean, or maybe char. Um, you don't really have to know this description of it. Integer is just int is short is the name for integer. So that will be -1, -2, -3, 0, 1, 3, 5. Double, they will just be numbers with decimals. So -1.1, 0.0, 2.7, 1,000.8, something like that. And then we'll get and then Boolean. Boolean is just a fancy way of saying true or false. So there's only 2 values that be stored in a Boolean. There's only 2 values to a Boolean data type, and that is true or false, as over here. Char is like characters, so you can have letter A, letter C, comma, period. These are all characters. All right. However, on top of this, all these Java have a support for a character string type called string. So basically a sentence, maybe like, or a word. So the word, let's see, a word hello, that is a string, and this is a char. So a char is just one single letter or some sort of character, and then string is a sequence of characters. And as you might have noticed that over here, this is a string as well. There's 11 characters inside hello and space world. All right, now moving on to the default values. You don't really need to know this. It's a good reference if you want to come back, take a look when you're writing your code. It's always available here for you. Just a few things to notice. Integers have a default value of 0. That is like if you don't assign it anything, it's going to start off as 0. Boolean has starts off with false. Double start with 0.0. String start with null. So null is just a fancy way of saying nothing's here. That the variable is empty. The variable is empty, I suppose. And then that's a perfect transition to what variables are. Oh, I guess before we move on to variables, anyone have any questions regarding data types or the Hello World program that we have just ran? Cool. Seeing that there are any questions, seeing that there's no questions, we'll move on to 1.5, I suppose. So here is the variables. So variables are a fancy way of saying, well, not a fancy way of saying, variables are named locations that store a value of some particular type. So like you could store a, yeah, so variables can have, so I guess moving on to the declaration, variables are declared or like declaration is fancy way of saying like you create a new variable. Um, So you start with the type and then space, then the name of it, followed by the semicolon. So followed by a semicolon. So in Java, semicolon is very semicolon and curly brackets, which are uh, these characters. They're crucial to how the program runs. You have to have them. So for every new line or every new line command, you have to have a semicolon in order to separate it. This tells that Java that one statement has finished and move on to the next one. Brackets are a very important way of distinguishing between uh, where it is exactly in the code. We'll get into this later as well. All right. So here are a few examples of the, so this is declaration for integers. You have int, which is this. So basically you just use one of these, well, one of these names here, and then you put a name after it. So I name this variable X. You can name it Y, X underscore Y, X cap, whatever you want it. And then the next line is how you would define a string. So you would have capitalized S string and then the space, then the name following it. Simple enough. And then for Boolean, you would just have Boolean answer, something like that. Double, you would have just same thing goes over here, double some sort of name. And okay. And then variable assignment. So after creating a variable or declaring a variable, you can then assign it a certain value, I suppose. Um, so you can have the way you do it is using a equal sign. So you have the name, then equal sign the value. That basically means set the value of name to value. So with some examples, we have here. So first, you would be declaring a integer x, well, a variable integer value, a variable x. Then you would assign the value 5 to x. So 5 is on the right side, and then x is on the left side. So the variable will always be on the left. The value that you're assigning the variable to, the value that you're assigning to the variable will be always on the right. This is especially important if you are working with like setting some sort of variable to another variable, and you want to make sure that the transfer of data is correct, or transfer of values, I suppose. All right, and then it's strings. So over here, I have string foo, and then it is set to equal bar. So now the now when whatever now the content that's stored in foo is bar, and the content stored in x is the integer number 5. And of course, you can initialize the variable and assign it at the same time by using something like this: type name equals value. So that means not only are you creating the variable, you're also assigning it, and that is done. So examples over here. Int x equals 5. So that basically says create, and that basically says create a variable x that of type integer and assign it a value of 5. So if you check on the value after this line, you would see that x is just equal to 5. This would also work in string, in Boolean, or the other kind of data types. A few examples: double equals 1.3, 1.23, I suppose. Or you can have Boolean answer equals true. Well, like a type, true. So that's just how you would assign variables. And that being said, we can move on to our second hello world, I suppose. Hello world 2. I'll just copy this. Same thing over here. We would create a file named, well, I named this font. Dot. Okay, hello world 2. So this is the code. Feel free to copy it. Feel free to type it out. I'll copy it down. I'll give just a few seconds, I guess. Okay. Sorry, just 1 second. All right, we're fine. We got time. Okay, and then let's. Seems like Zoom just doesn't like me today. Sorry, I got kicked out again. Okay, there we go. Back to where we were. All right. So there's not much change from version 1 to version 2, apart from, well, cancel the changes to version. All right. So if you compare them, you would see that we have a new variable defined. It's called hello world. Oh, well, it's called message. Sorry, not hello world. The content stored inside is hello world. Now we have message. So now you're storing whatever the string hello world into the message, well, into the variable message, and then you are printing out the message. So basically, whatever when you print a variable out, you will always print the value of it, and that being hello world. So if I run it, you'll see that the first line, well, wrong code. Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'll just do it myself, I guess. Java, and this is what you would be doing. This is what it actually does in the backend. Java C hello world .java. So it's Java compiler and then the name of the file. Oh, wrong file. Anyways, so okay, and then I can run Java. Java hello world 2. There we go. All right. So you print out the first line, which is hello world, and then afterwards, I assigned hello world to the message. So now this whatever this string is has replaced the content of what the original content in message, which is hello world, and now so therefore the new content for message is now hello world 2. And if I print it out again, you would see that this is hello world 2. Simple enough. A few more, just an extension on what we have covered. You could also do int x equals, I guess, 7. And then if you do system out dot this is quite I'll just Right. So as you can see over here, not only can print out strings, but it's also capable of printing out other variable types, such as integer. This also is true for doubles, booleans, and well, most other data types that are built in Java, of course. Um, cool. And that would be for Hello World 2. Um, before we move on to operators, does anyone have any questions regarding uh, the data types or the Hello World programs, which is the variables that we just covered? Feel free to put it in chat or raise your hand, I guess. If not, we will, yes. Let's take a quick 5-minute break and we will come back at 55. that would be time. All right. I guess before we move on, I do. Hmm, Okay. Hmm, Okay. Well, whatever. So I guess apparently Replit does not like Java too much. Uh, there's quite a strict. No, there are quite some strict rules about it, but that'll be fine. Uh, we will. I will send out an instruction on installing like a very easy local ID. It's gonna be called Eclipse. Um, just so that we get it running, get it working without really having to really type the command every time because it does get annoying. Uh, yeah, but if anyone's interested in learning more about Java, Java C, or like .class, Java, you can go ahead and stay after class just for a bit, and I could give you a pretty brief overview, I suppose. Right. Oh, no homework. Where am I? All right. Now let's move on to operators. So operators are sort of characters or symbols that perform some sort of operation on operands. And operands are just variables and values that operators act on. Well, that sounds very complicated, but in reality, it's quite just what we have learned in school, I suppose. So, I hope what everybody knows and what an operand is and an operator is. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I'll give a few examples afterwards. But here are the operators. So for Python, there are there are a few, and namely would be well, there are four general categories of operators. So arithmetic, assignment, comparison, logical, and bitwise. We won't really care about bitwise. It gets into more of the fundamentals of computers. It involves shifting bits and as the name suggests, bitwise operator. It's uh, yeah, it controls with it works with the most fundamental zero and ones. So we won't really be looking at that. However, we will be looking at the rest of the four. So first is the arithmetic operator. So the whatever you see in math exists over here. Plus, minus, multiply, divide, modulus, plus, plus, or minus, minus. The latter two are increments. So, or increments or decrements. So plus, plus, I don't know why this is showing one minus instead of two, but plus, plus is when you are trying to add a value to the existing number. And minus minus is when you're trying to decrease the existing number by one. It's always by one. Yeah. So if I'm gonna write it out. I won't follow the basic structure of the Java file, just big definition and big edit. Right. So if I have a variable, I have a number called number x, variable x storing having zero stored inside. If I do x plus plus, this would output. This would have x be 1, and then if I do x minus minus, that so x plus plus is 1, and then if I do x minus minus, that would give it to be x equals -1. So it's either +1 or -1. Should be simple enough. And then, all right. I'm sure the first four aren't much of an issue, aren't of much of an issue. There are also parentheses, so the same logic follows. So yeah, same logic follows for math and also in arithmetic operations. Modulus is something that not many people, not everybody knows about. So modulus is when you take the remainder of the division. So if I have 10 modulo 3, that would, if I do that, that would give me the number 1, the value 1. And that is because 10 divided, so you treat that as 10 divided by 3. The max number that can, and the max number is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, and it's the largest number that's smaller than 10. And then, so now, then you subtract 9, and that gives you 1. So same thing go over here. So if 10 modulo 5, that means 10 divided by 5. Take the largest integer possible, and that will be 2. So 10 divided by 5 is 2, and because there are no remainders, that just means that it's going to be 0. If it's going to be 3 modulo 4, because so and that will give a number of 3, because, well, you can't really divide 3 by 4 without having like a fraction. So that's that. Same, just a few more, I guess. 6 modulo 8 is 6. 125 and modulo 5 is 0. Then I don't know, like 126 modulo 5 is 1. Should be pretty easy to understand, I think. Cool. And of course, if you would wish to increment by 2, you just have to do x plus 2. There's no other ways. Just like that. That's the only way to increment by 2, and same thing for decrement. There is no way of actually like so plus plus is a shortcut for plus 1. But yeah, there are no shortcuts for the other ones. All right. Now going to assignment operators. The most basic one that we have seen already is equal sign. That just means that you assign value a to x, or value y to x in this case. And then there are a few other ones that are, I suppose, a shortcut basically. So you have plus equal, so you add and assign. You have subtract and assign, multiply and assign, divide and assign, and then modules and assign. Of course, this one applies to all other possible operators as well. You just put operator and then equal to change the value of change the value. So let's say we have int x equals 10, and then I do x minus equal, well, plus equal, I guess. In this case, x now becomes 12. Now, if I do x minus equal 6, that would give me x equals 6. If I, okay, well, I'm missing a semicolon, so that would have given me. If I do x multiply and assign by 2 and by 2, I guess, that will give me x equals 18. I guess I'll put it in there. Just so the compiler doesn't get angry at me. All right. Now what? Okay, that's fine. Okay. And then if I do, what are we missing? A divide and assign, and then by, I don't know, by 2, I guess. This would give x equals 9. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see if there's any other ones I'm missing. Okay, module. X module like 3. That would result in x equals 0 because 9 modulo 3 will be 0. Okay, so pretty easy, I think. So far, so good. Yeah. If anyone have any questions, feel free to ask regarding arithmetic operators or assignment operators. The class is ends in 25 minutes. So and 90 the class is 90-minute sessions. All right. If no other questions, we'll move on to comparison. Okay. Comparison operators and logical operators. We won't get into too much of this. We'll come back next class when we are doing if statements and conditions. Yeah. So just familiarize yourself with these symbols. We won't cover too much about it. Okay. And now again, order of operations, the same PEMDAS from sorry, from school, from your math class still applies. You do parentheses first, and then multiplication, division, and then lastly, you do addition and subtraction. Right. All right. So we have just a bit more content. We might end the class early if we do finish early, and that will be true for all future classes. All right. So let's take a look at domath.java. File. That's a funky formatting. Cool. All right. So before we actually run this code, I'd like us all to just together take a look at what this is. I'll compile it first while we talk about it. So you start off with double score, and here's the operation. Well, I'm not expecting anyone to like actually answer it, but think about well, just do a quick math. I guess do a quick math. Think about what the score is right now. All right. So 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So it's going to be 7.0 because it's a double. Now we will print this out. So you should, if I do click run, you should see 7.0 on the right, and then followed by, here it is again. Here is the second line. We have score 7.0 divided. So score right now, if you remember, it's 7.0. And now if we divide it by 2.0, we get 3.5. So if you print it out, it's going to be 3.5. And this, okay, 3.5. Yeah, so 7.0 and 3.5. One thing to mention that, as you might tell over here, we could replace this command, this line of code with divide and assign. As you might be able to tell, it's cleaner and shorter, and that's why a lot of times I personally prefer using these sort of so-called shortcuts, just because they're require less typing, and the lines look shorter, so the code looks more simple, I suppose. Yeah, not much to talk more about this. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask about domath.java. Not, we'll move on to the second version. Seeing there's no questions, we'll move on to the second part of code. Anything over here? Let me just. Well, you have to do this. Java C. Okay, cool. And then let's take a look at this part of the code. So this is something I'd like to point out, that is how the variables are, although assigning it, how the variables are only transferring their values instead of actually like thinking together, I suppose. So over here we have two different scores, score one and score one and score two, just to keep it same. Um, so for score one, same thing over here. It's still 7.0 as we previously calculated. So printing this out, we'll just print out 7.0. All right. If we look at the second piece of code, this now we have score two. Score two equals score divided by 2.0. So now score two, score one. Score two should be equals to 3.5. However, at the same time, score one does not change. So score one is still 7.5, 7.0. This is because although you're dividing score by 2, you aren't assigning it to anything. Like you aren't assigning it back to score one. There we go. And therefore, it doesn't actually change the original variables at all. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so if we print this out, you would still see 7.0 and 3.5. Now, if I run this, ooh, yeah. So as you can see over here, 7.0, 7.0, 3.5. So score one never really changed during this. Yeah, score one after declaration never really changed its numbers. This is very this idea is very important as we move on, because for in some cases you would need to keep the original value without while editing another copy of it, or having it temporarily altered without actually saving the value at all. All right, now moving on to the last bit, and I'll go over the assignment, I suppose. That would be string concatenation. So that's basically this concatenation is a fancy way of just saying putting things together or adding things together. So string concatenation is when you use the plus operator to like piece together some strings. So that includes, so it's as follows. So you can have use plus sign, and then you can piece multiple strings together, and you can even piece like a variable and another piece of string together. So that put into code would be concat. All right. Class. We have string message equals, let's say, hello. That'll be message one. We have another string message called message two. That will be world. And then we can have string message final equals message one plus message two. For cleanness, we'll add another space. Semicolons are always a must for each code. Right. So you have hello and world each respectively stored in message one and message two. So if you add them together, now it becomes well, hello world. So as you can see over here, not only we're not only are we adding strings together, we're also adding string variables and strings together, like so. And okay, I'll print out string one and two as well. And let's start off. Yeah, it seems like I'll be switching IDs next time because it does get pretty slow. All right, but at least over here you can see that first line is hello, the second line is world, and at the very end you have hello world, just like how the pre-messages are laid out. Yeah, and of course you could still use plus equal. So string message final plus equal a exclamation point would still be as you expect. Yeah, and if you have, yeah, one thing to notice that it threw this error because not because semicolon is actually expected, it's because that message final is already declared once up top. Therefore, I cannot have another string message final over here to because that will be declaring it again, and this variable name is already taken. Therefore, it's not going to work. Okay, so you see over here, plus equal exclamation points also works. It could be any other characters or strings, but that's just something to notice. All right. Okay, we're a bit early on time, but that's fine. I'll go over the assignments. And so this might seem a little complicated, but it's really not. It's maybe like 7, 8 lines of code, depending on how efficient you are. Okay. So the task over here at hand over here is to use the equation, this equation over here. I provided to you. It's an equation for calculating the position of a falling object once you let go. So like if you let go at 10 meters above the ground, and then I give you t equals, I don't know, like 1, then you should give me how much of what the position is, what position of the object is above ground or below ground, depending on the negative or positive. Well, depending on if that is positive or negative, should be fine. There are a few things to notice. One, you should just use this equation. And over here, there are a few variables that I'd like to explain. So first is G. G is just a gravity constant. You don't really have to know what it is. Just treat it as a number called negative 9.8. Ignore the units, it really doesn't matter. So G equal, you can have some sort of G, you can have a variable named G that stores negative 9.8. And then position, time, these are all variables that you should create, declare, and then use. Same as initial velocity and initial position. One more thing, you are not expected to have like input methods for it. So you could just literally have you could just literally do it like this. You have the variable and then just assign the value right away. So that's that. I give you one little test statement. So if the time is 10 seconds, initial velocity is 0, initial position is 0, then the position should be negative 490 meters by the time it is 10 seconds. Just something, just a little test statement you could plug into your own equation. and see if it works out. Here is the general structure of it. You have class following an object and then a main method. I outline the steps for you to needed to solve this problem. Uh, I'm spending a bit of time on explaining what this assignment is, but I will not. I'll stop doing so maybe like in 2 more assignments, just so that you understand what I'm asking, and I'm just hoping to clarify any potential questions. So first, you would be declaring the variables, and then you will be assigning then you would assign the values to variables. You could combine those to one step, like we did in 1.5.3. So you could do something like this. And then you would compute the positions. So you would like do some mathematical operation, some sort of subtract, multiplication equations over here. So follow this, get the value for position, and then you just print it out. You would be printing it like system.out.println. You can add some sort of like message like the object at 10 seconds is the position of object at 10 seconds is negative 490 meters, or you just simply output negative 490 meters. Well, you could just simply output negative 490. Just a number is fine. Yeah, so you'll be printing out the results, and we will be going over my sample solution for this equation afterwards. Next class actually. Um, if you don't want to scroll down all the way over here, you can also just click on assignment. If you're at homepage, click on assignments, and you'll be seeing homework 1, following an object. Yeah. So just it's the same identical instructions, just copied to another place. And solutions will not be posted for now. They will probably before next class, honestly. I'll post them maybe like 2 days ahead. All right. Oh yeah. One more thing. If you do wish to, I don't enforce like the collection of homework. So I strongly recommend you doing them. But if you don't, we will be going over them every beginning of every class, as well as like a short review. So like over here for class number 2, we have session 1 review, and then yeah, and then we'll be going over the solutions. So solutions not posted yet. So yeah, that's that. Sorry, one second. Yeah, okay. Anyways, so that's that. But if you do wish to send me homework, or if you have any questions regarding the homework, feel free to contact me through one of the methods above. Let's see where it is. Okay. Contact me through my email or through the WeChat group, or just private message me. Either one works. I will try to get back to you within 24 hours. Summer is a little confusing for me. But I'll be sure to get to you as soon as possible. Yeah. And if you aren't able to finish the homework, that's okay as well. Come with any questions. Yeah. This will be it for today's first session, and you're more than welcome to leave and take a break. Or if you have any questions, feel free to stay and ask. If not, I'll be closing this Zoom session in 10-15 minutes. All right. Derek, I'm not sure if you're still here. If not, I'll just close this room. Cool. I think that is a no. Okay.